Welcome everybody. This is the second part of this awesome little workshop. I would like to quickly introduce ourselves. So Pulze is a team of 4 people. I'm Peter, and next to me is Mihály. And you saw previously Lautaro Vogel speaking. He's our Chief Development Officer, by the way. And then we have also the third developer, Zsolt, behind us listening. And just a little bit of points about Pulze, that this is a software family that was founded in 2018, and it's a formerly we were working at Brick as the R&D group, and then we just took the softwares or the internal tools that we thought that they need some further development, and then we started rethinking them and redoing them. So all of these softwares that we're going to show you today are for Archviz people by former Archviz artists, so let's say. So the first tool that I would like to show you is the C Manager. And let's check some really quick teaser with some music just to get this going.
I'm off the exit, bro. Yeah, she give me that claim as well. I remember back when I was younger, I was happy. Nowadays feel like no one understand me. I'm good at artists, silly, I'm Bob, Bambi. Baby's yellow, text. She wanna eat me like candy. Run up the racks, track me. I'll run up the racks like an athlete. I remember.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and a few words about the C Manager. This was also started as an internal tool here at Brick Visual, and then we went like several versions of it until it became public to everyone else. But first it was just a UI and UX experiment, and then we thought that we would like to approach this C management thing in 3ds Max a little differently than the others. And then we created this modular design where each and every artist, no matter if you're doing drafting, commenting, or final images, or let's say doing animation, or you're more like a technical person, each and every people can find their modules and the way they can set up this management tool. So it's flexible enough also for freelancers and also for like more enterprise users. And the good thing about it is that we can also develop like custom features for each and every person if they wish to have something like that. And beside the traditional features like having a camera resolution and lighting setup for each scene, we have some special ones that I guess we are really proud of. Like we have this light mix per setup. For now, it only works for Corona, but we are looking forward to implement it for V-Ray 5. Also, we have this really cool rule-based outputs, which I guess Lautaro will show you in a couple of minutes. We have really cool render settings, a really intuitive way and fast way to have multiple render settings per setup without having this, a lot of controls. And also the batch render or submission to any kind of render manager, including our very own. So this year we started working with the Uniform, and they were really interested in implementing our C Manager. So we got a lot of input from them, and then we spent quite a lot of time to add new features inside it this year. So I'm really happy to pass the word to Lautaro, and then he will show you how and why they are using the C Manager. So I guess I will just stop the share.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is okay. Let me just try and share my screen real quick. I know when we tested, just before I start, I know when we tested this before, Jason was saying that my video was a bit weird and laggy. So if it looks too weird, let me know and I just turn my camera off. Yeah, let me see if you can see my screen. While we're working on it, I just want to say really happy to be here. Thank you guys, Peter and Tila and all the team for the invite, and also Jason, Fabio, and everyone organizing D2 virtually this year. I can only imagine how stressful and how many hours you need to work to put this together. Right, so I can see that you can see the screen now. So yeah, my name is Lautaro. I am a studio lead at Uniform in Liverpool, UK. And as the guy said, we just very recently started using Pulze's Scene Manager in production fully. So they thought it would be a good idea if I could just share our experience with it so far. Yeah, so just a quick heads up of what you can expect from the presentation. It's not going to be so much of a how to use one, because obviously, the tool itself is quite simple to use, which is great. And also there are some tutorials out there that are very good. And also I'm not really a complete pro with it. So it's going to be more about how, why we implemented it, what was our need for something like that, why we chose Pulze. I'm going to show just a case study for it. And then hopefully if we have time, I'm going to talk a little bit about, going forward, what we would like to see implemented and what we would like to see in terms of, next steps for Pulze, I guess. Little disclaimer, the guys didn't put any conditions on my presentation. They just said, give your full, honest opinion. So I'm not going to follow any script or anything for that. This is an honest opinion from our side. So before I start, I just would like to very quickly, because it's not the main point of the presentation, just to give you some context, I'm going to play 2 videos so that you can get a bit of an understanding about Uniform, what we do, who we are, the type of work we do. So first video I'm going to play is going to be kind of a day at Uniform, which is a fairly old video, to be honest. But since then we have seen we've grown like double the size, and there is a whole new office space as well. But hopefully it's going to give you a rough idea of what the type of work we do. Then the second one is going to be a company-wide kind of show reel, also again, so you can see some of the clients and projects we get to work on. So, that's a bit of what we do. And in terms of why we kind of started looking for a better solution, we actually, just to let you know, we did have already a scene management tool that we were using, but we felt that it wasn't quite right. We still needed to rely quite a bit on things like layers and naming things and creating like point helpers for positions of the sun and lighting, which is kind of worked, but it wasn't really ideal. It was far from ideal. So again, I'm just gonna skip the next video because I don't think it makes too much sense to play with the without sound. But it's just to say that we sometimes get to work in like massive. Actually, let me just play it really quick. Massive, projects which involve, again, different parts of different teams, different people working on it. This is an example where we have like, illustrators, web developers, like obviously CG artists, a whole bunch of different people working on it. And as you can imagine, usual day-to-day kind of projects are super complicated, and they get super complicated immediately with different people working on them and assets that you have in the scene and everything. So you can imagine when the project is even bigger, like you cannot survive without a scene management tool. And actually, we're quite curious to know if people can just put in the comments, like if they are currently using a scene management tool, or if they are not. I'm really curious to see if they are not using it, how do they survive? Because I remember the time when I wasn't using it, and now I don't really even know how I was working without a scene manager before. So yeah, just drop a line in the comments saying if you're using or not using or planning to. Be interesting to see that. So as I said, a few of the things that we really didn't, weren't completely happy with from our previous workflow or scene management tool. It wasn't completely terrible. It was just kind of good enough. And the issue, which is very dangerous, is that people got used to it. We got used to it. And when you get used to something, it's really hard to go and look for an alternative and try and suggest changing it for something better. The UI and the whole way it worked was completely overwhelming and very intimidating. So especially if you got someone new in the team who didn't use that tool before, it was like a bit too much for the simple things we needed. The development of that tool and the communication we had with the developer wasn't like great. It wasn't as good and as direct as we have it now with the guys from Pulze. And it was missing a few key features. It's funny actually, because if you think about it, we don't really need a whole bunch of stuff at least, in the way we work, we don't really need too much stuff. We just need a few things that we need them to be simple and easy to work and work fine. That's all we need. And all of this becomes very relevant during the concept stage, or you might call it drafting stage, or initial kind of scene exploration, because that's when you get loads and loads of different options, different cameras, different lighting, scenarios that you need to make combinations from. So just to talk a little bit about why we chose Pulze and why we are using it, I'm gonna, it's pretty much 3 key points. One of them would be the simplicity of, how simple it is to use it, but also how simple the UI looks and how simple it is to get used to it. The collaboration and the kind of, back and forth we have with the developers, which is always something we look for in the software we use. And then a few key features, as I mentioned, and I'm going to talk or show even how these work in Scene Manager in a bit. But a few key features like, getting your lighting per pass automatically, like you get the sun or the HDRI or the dome or whatever it is automatically set up. You get to turn on and off layers or objects per passes, which is very handy as well. One feature that we absolutely love is the I don't really know what's the official name for it, but the output auto naming kind of thing, where you just don't need to worry about, if you have 100 passes, you don't need to worry about setting the output for each one of them. And then obviously the ability of just taking kind of snapshots from the current setup, which is great. So I'm going to use this project that we did for our friends at Foster and Partners a while ago. Now, just as a case study, really. Now, the thing is that because of NDAs, and we all love NDAs, don't we? Because we just recently started using Pulze and Scene Manager, say like a month ago, probably a bit more than that. Obviously, we can't show anything that we produce using Pulze already, but it was quite an interesting exercise, just going back to this project that my colleagues James, Isaac, Antonio, Bryn, and Tony worked on, and just think about how we did this back then and how we would approach it nowadays with Pulze. That was quite an interesting, case study. Now, as I said, behind all of those projects and final outputs you get, there is that initial stage after talking with the clients, discussing with your creative leads or art directors as well, like roughly what's going to be the exploration in terms of mood, lighting. Maybe you set up some mood boards, and there's that stage in the project where you start exploring the scene and you start testing things, and it can quickly become really complicated and overwhelming, the amount of options you have. And at the same time, you need to make sure that we can easily go back to each one of these, because say I share one option, with my creative lead or the creative lead of the project, and he says, yeah, like maybe like that one option, but move the camera a little bit or do this with the lighting. I need to very easily go back to that setting, get all the settings and lighting set up correctly, and then just do those small tweaks. I'm just going to let this video play. This one actually doesn't have any sound, so it's not a problem. Just going to let it play and explain to you a little bit about what this is showing. So as I said, with our previous kind of tool and scene management, the whole workflow behind it was, we would just approach this project and start exploring the scene, going around it, trying to find nice viewpoints, testing different lighting options, etc., etc. But then once we found the one that we were happy with, what we would have to do was create like layers where we would need to rename accordingly, just with the same name of the camera or the shot, and then put the lighting in there, make sure that only that one was on or off, depending on the shot. If we were using, P-Ray sound, for example, we sometimes would just create like a point helper to keep the position, but then you would need to rename that point helper accordingly, to the shot or the camera that needs to use that sound position, which wasn't too much. It was like probably like 1 or 2 minutes. But if you have to do a lot of concepts, a lot of options, it's not great. It doesn't feel like smooth enough. And the way we are doing it now with Pulze is basically, we go there again, we just explore different aspect ratios, lighting, camera options. And once we find the option that we are happy with, there is a fetch current settings, I think it's called, the option in Pulze, that just literally captures like a snapshot of, I'm using it now here, for example, just captures a snapshot of all the settings you have, the camera, the lighting, and the aspect ratio. So the way we would do it now is explore the scene, find something we are happy with, click fetch current settings, and then just keep exploring. It's so smooth. It's just so easy to work with it. And one funny thing actually is that when I pre-recorded this video, I was saying like, oh, but actually, Pulze is only on the screen for say 5 seconds or so every now and then. But actually, that's a great thing, because that means that I don't need to spend a lot of time in that specific tool to get the results that I want. If I had to spend, like an hour explaining how you would do it, what you would need to do to do this, to take the snapshot of the scene setup, then probably, the tool wasn't good enough. So I think having to spend like minimal time on the actual tool is a great thing. It means that it's super easy to use. So let me just kind of see. So this will be, for example, say I'm happy with this camera. You see now I click on that magic wand thingy, and that captures the current setup, as I said. So obviously I only created here like 3 options. This was all real time, by the way. That's how fast we work. But say, you could create like 3, or you could spend a whole afternoon and create like loads of those options, depending on what you're after. And let me just try now and share Max scene. Let me know, guys, in the comments if you can see the Max window. So say after I created those options, right? I have them here, right? So you see how I can switch from one option to the other super quickly. And again, I'm just using 3, but you could be using like a lot more. So after doing this, which took almost no time, how would you then go from here to render them out, or just set an output for all of them, and so that you can share with your team or your creative lead or your art director? And that's another really, really cool thing. So in this case, for example, I'm just going to set up the output. I'm not going to do, in this first step, I'm not going to do anything specific per pass. I'm just going to set up the output for all of them. And if, the way I would do it here is you can select all of them, like all the options you have in here. And this is a beautiful thing about Pulze. We really, really like this, because as I said, if I had 100 options here, the time or the things I'm going to do would be exactly the same. So there is no extra time for extra passes. So first of all, you would just say the folder where you want to store the output of those shots. And then the output, the actual name of the file, is going to be created out of a few different options that you can choose from, which is really, really good. So for example, I could say, I want to create it out of the file name, which is usually the only thing we kind of get to properly name. How quickly it gets messy with cameras and things that are not properly named. But that would give me, if you can see here, the output name for each one of those automatically. So this would be camera 3, this would be 2, this would be 1. If you have 50, that would be for all 50 of them. You can do the same, obviously, with the channels or the common output, etc., etc. And after you have that, you just literally render them all. You can batch render here, or you can use render manager or whatever solution you use to render. So that takes no time really. But now, in a second kind of stage, say you want to do things per pass, and this is another thing that we kind of struggling with our previous tool. So you want to do something per pass. So say, let me go to shot 3 here. Say for some reason I didn't want to have this element in the foreground in this specific shot. So there are a few other cool things that the scene manager does that we really like, which is like objects and layers. As I said, they work in a very similar way. So I don't want to have in that pass 3, I think it's called. Yeah, I don't want to have this object. You literally just select it here, and then it will be added to all of them, as you can see. But for this particular setup, I don't want to have that object. That's gone. So if I keep scrolling through them, you would see here in this perspective view how it goes away. Just as simple as that. And it works in a very similar way for the layer. So let me just give you a quick example. If I select this, sorry, let me just open this actually. If I have a layer selected, I can just pick it from here. And again, it would be added to all of those passes. But I only want this light on for this particular pass, but I don't want it for the other 2. So I just select them, say off, and again, and you can see how quickly it jumps from one setup to the other, which is something really good as well. The previous tool we had was a bit slower at that. So that's really, really interesting. Now, one thing I think I skipped and I didn't mention is how, what render settings am I using now? Now, again, the scene manager does it in a very, very cool way, because you can do it for all of them. Basically, what you do is you have a basic default render preset, and then you have specific settings per setup. So let's say, I don't know, I wanted to, right, my UI, my Vira UI on my license, something is gone for some reason. I'm doing this locally, so I don't really have that. Let me see if it will even fetch the settings. Yeah, it would fetch the settings. And let's try with the render elements. Probably the guys can show it a bit afterwards, but it works the same way as with the render elements. So I'm just going to do that. So I want to add a few options for all of the passes really. Let's just add like back to beauty, kryptonite, whatever, just random things, right? And then you can just fetch this for all the setups. But then again, say you had a pass that you don't want to use for a specific setup, you just disable it for that one, and it stays on for the rest. The same thing you would do with the render settings, and then you would just click fetch, and it works exactly the same way. Sorry about that, not being able to show you that actually. But you can see these settings, setting up these shots. And again, if I had 10 of them, which sometimes might be the case if you are in a concept stage kind of thing, it would take like no time, right? It would be super, super quick. So I think, let me go back to my presentation. Actually, I think I have here a pre-recorded video that I can show you for the settings thingy, which I couldn't show you now. Right, so you see now I have like some basic render settings in there. But if I say in one of the shots, for some reason, I didn't want to use caustics, I can just then go and use the render settings module and fetch those settings. And then that would be only apply, as you can see now, it's going to go back on. It's going to be applied only to that pass. So it's literally super, super easy. It takes no time, and it's something we quite like here with Pulze. Right. So I think that's pretty much most of it. Sorry about the issues like the sound and all the other bits. But just a few words before I finish that kind of presentation. And if people have questions or something around, obviously the guys are going to be the best people to ask to, but I'm going to be around. One thing I would say is encourage people to just go and try, the tool. And if they do try it or if they do use it, just post, your concerns, your, feature requests in the forums or via email to them, because that's the best way to just make the tool even better very quickly, because then they can get a lot of feedback from a lot of different people. I know I've been doing that a lot. I'm keeping them really busy. They are probably regretting by now giving me the access to the forum and their emails. But it's just that one thing I would really like to see in the future of Pulze is making it even more powerful, but still keeping that nice balance with a very simple to use tool, but super powerful as well. So that's pretty much it from me, guys. And hope you enjoyed it despite all the technical issues. And be around if you have any questions.
All right, thank you very much. This was truly awesome. So as Lautaro said in the end, if you have any questions or concerns, or you just want to know more, then or you have some ideas, then you can post it on our forums or just write us at one of our email addresses. And I will continue on just showing another video with some fun music, and then I will talk about the future of the scene manager.
Your style, put you in Chanel cause it's just perfect for your smile. Girl, I swear for you I run the world, I'd run the miles. The way you look at me, I think I'm going insane. It's crazy how we started out to what the love became. You need me, say my name. Don't ever hesitate. It's too outside. When I'm with you, I feel way too high. You won't feel the heart. You won't feel the heart. You won't feel the heart. You won't feel the heart.
Okay, great. So in this little video, we showed you the previous version that we released like a few weeks ago, and it has this special module with Project Lavina. So if you are interested in Project Lavina is an awesome tool by a Chaos group. It's still in beta, but we use it in some cases at Brick also. So the C Manager has this special integration with it. So if you are curious, then go check it out. But again, what's next for the C Manager? So we constantly receive a bunch of requests, a lot of from Lautaro on the forums. So we're looking forward to implement those. But also we have our separate plan. We would like to have a so-called scene presets where people can import and export these kind of setups. So for example, if I have a cool lighting setup with render settings, LUTs, VFB settings and stuff like that, I can easily share it with my colleagues or just reuse it in some products or in some other projects. Also, we have this philosophy to have less is more in buttons and control wise, but people are constantly asking for more control. For example, they want to rotate the dome, they want to, I don't know, add some spinners to the sun module, they want to control their ISO in the camera module. So we won't do this for ourselves, because the idea is to keep the user interface simple, but then we will give you an option where you can just add in your own controls to all of these cards. So that will that's coming really soon. And also object properties per setup. Currently we only have visibility and maybe something else, but then we will fill in the rest of these gaps. And also something that we are very interested in is going into product visualization and having this special variation module where people can just really intuitively, like you see with the base thing that we have, they can easily do hundreds and thousands of variations for a simple render with lighting, materials, textures, and stuff like that. But back to the scene presets, we have something cooking in at Brick. So currently the guys have these presets that we have in-house, and the really cool thing about them is you either can just look around and then let's say you want to have a night mood from this angle, you just scroll down and you have this magic hour, and then we will handle the cameras, the HDRI, the dome and everything. So the idea is to, whenever you would like something like this, you just hit a button, we will create a preset for you, and then we can reuse this in any circumstances. So that is also coming in the next update of the scene manager. Yeah, so let's move on, and I will let Michael tell you about the post manager.
Hi guys. So we are kind of running out of time, so I'm going to wrap this up really quickly. Basically, our second product that we're going to talk about is the Post Manager, which is a Photoshop plugin. And there is a small video I have prepared that kind of going to summarize everything, and then I'm going to try to do a little live demonstration for you. So you should hear me now. So yeah, basically the whole idea behind the post manager was working in After Effects with all the render elements and all the masks that you usually work with is much easier than in Photoshop regarding having new render versions like every day and then switching out every single render element and then switching out every single mask that you are using. So basically the idea was to try to recreate all this process in Photoshop where you can like batch replace render elements, and then all the masks that you have created from those render elements should be also replaced automatically, so you don't have to go through all that hassle. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you something live, which is, I know, always a good idea, because nothing ever goes wrong in a live demonstration. So here is an empty Photoshop document, and these are the panels. And what I have at first is like a first version of a render like that. And the basic render elements, and all of these are PNGs at the moment. And all the masks that I'm going to use in this presentation are going to be in this multi-matte element. And just to let you know, there is a naming convention that's going to go well with this one. And it's to call every single color channel with a name. So the red is going to be the glass with a hashtag, and the stairs going to be the green, and the wall going to be the blue. And all the time you need to separate these with a hashtag so the automatic replacement and creation can kick off. So as I said, it's a Photoshop extension, so you can get it from Window Extension. Easy as that. So you open it, and the first thing after you log in is what you can do is you press the Create New Document panel, and then it's going to ask you to browse a folder for your render elements, and then you select all those render elements that you want to import, hit OK. And then it's going to say you can choose one of the presets of how your Photoshop document is going to look like. And you can check those presets out. What is the folder structure going to be? And also these are built-in templates, but you can anytime create your own template, so you can customize it to your liking. The more exciting thing, in my opinion, is the extract layer mask option, which is going to recognize all these hashtag named multimats and all the kind of render elements that is going to give you a black to white luminescence map, and also it's going to create those masks for you. But let's see it in action, basically. So as I said, you can do any kind of layer structure. This is what we use in Brick right now. So this ships with Post Manager. You can use this if you like. You know, it's really up to you. So basically what happened is, from this multi-matte element, it created these 3 folders which have their mask applied to it automatically. And just imagine that you are working on this image, you are making this nice, and then you are going to use one of these masks, or like a lot more if you are preparing this better than I did in here. So for example, I'm going to color this wall just something to represent like red, and I'm going to do the stairs also, maybe change it up a little bit, like a nice pink one. And also I will going to do and use like a copy of my reflection element, put it into the glass to make it like a really reflective surface, like a mirror or something. Mm-hmm. And then going to like put the brightness up so it kind of matches it, but it really doesn't matter. The thing that I'm going to trying to prove is how it's going to work whenever you are going to run into the situation when the clients, for example, wants to change the camera a little bit. So then all your masks are going to be obsolete from that point. And that is what should happen. This is what happened in this case. So you open a Post Manager whenever you finish rendering your next version. And then the first thing it asks you to do is to discover the document, which means it's going to scan through your document and find every single hashtag maps and all the render elements that it knows about. So this is what we now understand that we have. And then we can browse for another folder with another render elements, which is like your second version of the render, and then import in those. And then it's going to match all those in your preview window like this. So it's going to tell you it's going to replace what elements with what new PNGs. So it knows that you have 2 different copies from the reflection, and it's going to replace both of them. It also knows that your document is now not like full HD, but a 5K document. So it's going to resize the whole documents as well. And also it's going to update the layer mask for wall, stairs, glass, and ZDepth Luma mask that is also created here. So let's see if it works and what it will do. Since this is now a 5K image, then it's going to take like a little bit more than it did previously. But I think it's still a lot faster than if any of you can do it faster than Post Manager, then we're gonna find some rewards for that. But I don't think that's possible. So it's finished, and this is what basically happened. As I told you, we have changed the camera a little bit, but all the masks have been replaced like this. So, and we have all the adjustment in those. So basically, the update is completed. Our new resolution is completed. So basically, this is the basic workflow of Post Manager. And if you create any kind of layer structure in here, then you can teach that to Post Manager. And there is a really in-depth tutorial we have in our YouTube channel if you want to dive more into that. But I'm just gonna finish this up to pass back the word to Peter. And I hope, where is this? It's in here. Like this. Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. So yeah, first of all, the next step for this is we are going to implement this into our render manager system. So whenever we render out an image, you can automatically have your Photoshop document created for you. So you hit the render at night before you go home, and the next morning a freshly baked new Photoshop file is going to wait for you in your on your computer screen. Also, will make it possible to grab unfinished or half finished render elements, and you can already start working on an image before the render finishes. So imagine working on a progressive render. It's not finished yet, but you can already clearly see what's happening. You can start working on those on that image with all the render elements that you need. And once the render is finished, then you can also replace those elements. Also, any suggestion, you can write to us for the info@pulze.io if you have any suggestion about that. And as we promised, there is this D2_Pulze_40 coupon, which you can use today to have like a 40% discount in our shop to any of our annual products. So be sure to like make a snapshot or something, a screenshot, but we will show this at the end as well. And that was for me. Thank you for listening. I'm going to pass back the word to Peter.
And yeah. Awesome. So I will have like 8 minutes to finish this thing. So I will quickly show you another little teaser about the render manager. And yeah, I will jump in live and then quickly show you how does it work. Oh yeah. So if you fell asleep, then most likely you're gonna wake up after this. And just a couple of short words about it. So this also started as an experiment. Then, like years ago, our render manager replaced Backburner inside of Brick. And then we have this redefined way of managing jobs because we have this in-depth scene knowledge, requirements-based filtering. We don't have to like stay up all night just to feed the render farm and Backburner with tasks and nodes. Everything is like fully automatic. And then also one of the coolest features, I guess, is the live progress and preview. So let me just quickly jump out and let me show you this in action. So I'm gonna quickly show you the nodes and the jobs tab. So I'm not gonna bore you how to like set it up and do things like that. We have detailed tutorials regarding that. Just a quick rundown at the nodes tab. On the first one, this is your computer. You have these like basic hardware information, and also the important thing is that we have deep knowledge of which type of 3ds Maxes do you use and what type of plugins that you have installed. So currently in this meeting PC, we have like V-Ray 5, Sinai, Reaclone Forest, and that's it. And the cool thing about this is that I have a couple of nodes just for the presentation. So you can see this has a little bit more stuff on them. And the cool thing about this that since I have less plugins installed, I can compare these two guys. So let's say like comparing to this, like you see, I have a lot less. So this is really handy even for freelancers or for more like enterprise users that you can match to the version that I would need these kind of plugins just to, get aligned with the rest of the farm. So this is quite handy in a lot of cases. Also, you have these like normal monitoring things, so CPU, RAM, and C drive. There's also a little remote desktop request icon. And on the left side, you have like basic restart, shutdown, wake up, and a couple of other more specific settings. You can report errors internally, so not to us. There's a different button for that. You can also run a benchmark for Corona, V-Ray GPU, V-Ray CPU, and then use these benchmark scores to filter your requirements. And if you would like to send out a job, you see we have one running at the moment. You just need to press this new job button. You can either browse in a Max file, or you can have submit a running instance of Max. So you see I have this really simple file over here, and then our submitter is not integrated into 3ds Max. It's a totally external thing, but you still have like even more control over here. So if you just click it, a quick sanity check will run down, and then we will read out what type of Max, what is your engine, and what are the basic requirements of your file. So if Forest would be involved in this, you will see that plugin Forest and the version number of it. So there are a couple of things that you can set up. You can either render an image with single frame, tile rendering if you're familiar with it, or you can choose a distributed. You can either choose a remote master PC, or you can use your computer, actually your running Max to be a master of this job. But right now we're gonna submit a little animation, and we have two methods also here. So linear will render like normally 0, 1, 2, 3, and then counting to 10. Or we have this sparse method, which is quite nice for animations, and also for animations that in like early stage, and you don't have any idea what you will see in your camera preview. Sparse is a really good thing. So it will render the first, the last, and the middle one, and then it will start to fill in the gaps. So you will quickly have after like 10 frames, you will see your entire animation in some way. So I will show you this one. Also, you can choose, like for V-Ray, you have 3 kind of outputs, the common, obviously, then you have the channels and the raw. So we can set up an output here also. Let's just name something and PNG. You can change the resolution and you can decide what should be the priority and when should it start. I want it now, and normal should be it should be enough to give me some half of the nodes of the farm. So if you just hit create, then it will create another job, and once 2 of these PCs will finish, they will close up their running job and they will move to my. So because we have, like, this is normal priority and this is also normal priority, we will split the things to half. But you can already see that we have some really nice previews. So if I would hover over my mouse here, I can see that what this PC is doing, and it will refresh every 5 or 10 seconds. And also you have a proper remaining time, so 50 seconds. And this will add up, to the whole experience, that you know what's going on with your render nodes, and you know when you're going to finish, and you can also peek in what's going on without going to the exact PC or without, logging into remote desktop and stuff like that.
We have additional 10 minutes.
Oh, really? Cool. Okay. Yeah, so you see the status, it's opening, loading. Loading means when it's loading up the file, and working is like when it starts to render. And yeah, so this is our job that we just sent out. And down here you have the list of nodes that are working on. I can also check the pending frames. So yeah, I wanted to explain the sparse. So you see we have a 0, 50, 100, and then we just start to fill in these gaps. So quickly I will get, after 3 frames, at least I will see the first, the last, and the middle one. So in a lot of cases, this is a really handy thing. You can check the max file, the folder of it. You can see the output directory. So if you would click here, then you see here are my outputs. Yeah, other than that, you have dependencies. So I can start to chain up my my jobs after each other if I wish. You can change the priority, and you can also maximize the number of nodes that you want to use. Also, there for starters, like the question is always that, can I use my own workstation just to, in the rendering? And there's this activate night mode button, which will most likely change in the next version to something more understandable. But activate night mode means that you will become a render node, but you can still monitor and control what's going on. And it also gives you this handy little thing that, let's say you're doing like emailing, or you're doing like Photoshop work, and you don't want to use, you don't want to give away all your cores. So I can do something like this, that I can give away 6 cores, and then the two remaining will be perfectly fine for me to do my emailing work or stuff like that. Yeah. 5 minutes. Yep, if that's okay. 3, okay. Yeah, I will speed it up. Okay. Yeah, so let me jump out and get back here. I just want to show you one more thing. Yeah, live demo and what we are working in progress. So like in the scene and a post manager, we have a lot of ideas. And then currently the render manager, it's in a heavy update, let's say. So in the end, we are focusing on like a lot of UI and UX tweaks, and which will end up being more robust and more responsive in the end. And then we want to try to have this balance between freelancers and the enterprise customers, and making both of these groups happy in the end. Oh yeah, I just want to point out that we are looking forward to have a better error handling and reporting for you guys. And if it wasn't that easy, then we will have a more convenient installing and setup procedure with like auto discovery and things like that. And then since I guess rendering is pretty much done, we would like to move forward and use this technique not just for rendering. We want to have simulation, preview, and compute jobs, which are pretty cool. And the last thing, I have a really just small recording from this morning that personally I'm being involved and working on this deploy module that we are looking forward to have in the next version, which will let you just pick whatever software you would like for Archviz software or plugin that you would like to install, and then we will just take care of the rest. And with also, there are a couple of like Windows utilities that I guess everybody uses. And so like your administrator can collect these and then name this group, and then you can select the PCs, and then we will deploy these one by one. And then it's, I guess this will be a lifesaver for people that don't want to use like an external deployment software. So this is what we are cooking at the moment. And oops. And I guess that's it. So if you don't forget that we have this coupon code, and then we will also post in our social channels. And also, before I say goodbye, I would like to really thank all of the supporters and people that are using our software. And yeah, shout out to Lautaro again. He said great things. And yeah, next time I hope we can see you guys in person. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for this beautiful presentation. Guys, thanks a lot for doing the workshop for us. It was amazing, great product, great presentation, and hopefully we'll see each other in person maybe soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.